Episode 5, go. Right, so I suddenly realised, due to a few comments, that I should be standing you by, like my usual job, and then queuing the thing to start. So I just queued my own episode. Let's see if the video and the audio works throughout this. Hello, everyone. Now, I totally appreciate that episode 4 dropped, as they call in the business, a little bit late. But that's because I've discovered that my son Freddie, his studies are getting a bit in the way now, because essentially I can only talk. That's the only function I have. And I've discovered that I can't even use basic software to put my words onto this image. So I'm very, very heavily reliant on Fred. And so I stand there with my little hard drive with him. Even while he's doing an online lecture and lesson with his university, I'm standing there like a sort of, like a sad orphan, standing with my hard drive going, Fred, can you put titles up? Can you put the music? Oh, pathetic. So anyway, he's studying really, really hard. And then he's got to look at his mum standing there with her amateur shed experiences going on. And then bless him. Anyway, so even though episode 4 went online a little bit late, that is totally due to my son having to have an education, which I think is a little bit overrated now. Fred is also rather concerned about the quality of all of this, not just the stuff I'm saying, which is a huge issue probably for most of you, but the quality of the image. But to be honest with you, this is so hilarious that I'm in my shed and you're watching a jigsaw being done. I don't think the quality is going to affect the standard that you're all expecting, which is because it's so low, and you're all so bored that anybody that's listening has reached such a point in their lives that actually this, who cares whether it's not 4K ready? Frankly, I don't. But I've come with a new vim and vigour to this today. I was a little bit... Yesterday, I spoke ever so fast. I was aware of that. Fred thought I'd pressed a button. Like, you can make stuff go faster, can't you? You can make it go 1.5 speed. I think I'd had a lot of coffee, like I said in my title, and I think, sadly for you, you got the brunt of that. More around than usual, but who cares? Who cares? Now look, for those who are worried about my system, oh look, all the stuff's come off. I've got a blue tablecloth now. People are very worried about the unironed tablecloth. I keep wanting to say carpet. It's a table. People are very worried about it. To be honest with you, there's absolutely cock all I can do about it now, because if you think I'm going to take 2,500 pieces off, iron it, put it back on, and then got that box ready to go, you're joking. And you should probably go to, I don't know, watch something far more professional than this if you want me to take the tablecloth off. I can sometimes pull it for you all, if that makes you all feel more comfortable, but it doesn't escape the fact that I'm on 4 old tables and an old tablecloth. For those who were asking, yes, I did sleep in the small bedroom with an elderly whippet last night. She was in her bed, but I was in my bed because of my snoring the previous night. So Matt and I agreed that so we could both get some sleep and that he didn't murder me in the comfort of my own home, and he could get some sleep, that we agreed that I would do that, and that seemed to work. And Florrie's deaf, so she didn't seem to complain anyway, so that was a relief. New jumper today. Well, actually it's an old jumper, because everything I possess I've had ever such a long time. This one's a bit Nordic, isn't it? And this looks like I should be in the killing and that I should be solving murders, which I could be solving my own one if I keep snoring. Bethany, Freddie and I have been doing, I might have talked about this already, but bear with me. We've been doing this couch to 5K thing over the park, and I am aware that actually I'm shuffling to 5K from my couch, and I sort of follow them like their nan. They're running very sturdily, and I was just running like it wasn't even running. It's legally in the court of law I was only shuffling. So I shuffle around the park, can hardly breathe, and then make my way home. But psychologically, I feel like I've done something when actually I actually haven't. I wanted to say a huge hello to Lynn and Malcolm, who are up in Leicester, who are watching Laura's mum and watching and listening. Laura's mum and dad. I apologise that you had to endure, if you did indeed endure it. The episode where I talk about the Australian masturbator. I just wondered whether that was whether that was nice to hear after all these years of not seeing each other, and whether you totally judged me and you've not listened to another one. But Nathan and Andrew said again that they sat and there's no way they're watching a film about a farm, let me tell you, that I suggested yesterday. There's no way they're going to watch Biggest Little Farm, even though it's actually a gorgeous film, because I think there's just too much. I think they've just got into the habit of sitting in the dark, eating their dinner, watching someone play with themselves. Fair enough, all to your own. So the tablecloth, yeah, and Steve. So I'm very glad to say Steve has sent me more information on his outfit. The purple cape photograph was exactly as I expected it to be, just pure excellence. But he sent me some teeth, a picture of his smile. He sent me the picture of his new teeth. He's ordered, because dentists and everything are shut down, he's ordered some teeth off of the internet. And so looking at them, Steve, they're particularly gaudy, I'd say. They're very bright. And but I know they'll wear in, but I also don't think they fit properly, because I can see ever such a lot of gum. But I suppose you get what you pay for in these times. As I was shuffling around the park with the kids today, I saw that gang of kids. They're in their teenager years actually, but it doesn't matter how old you go, there's always a group of lads in those grey tracksuits. Those sort of grey tracksuits, just, I don't know, hanging out. Definitely not a family group like you're meant to be. Again, can I just say there are, again, no edge pieces. If I get to that other box of Jigsaw, this one, and all the bloody edge pieces. Oh, I just saw a corner. No, I didn't. Oh, I thought I just saw a corner. Oh, that's going to take us loads of sessions. I'm going to pop him here. Anyway, yeah, I just saw the youth, but they didn't have Helen's plum tree. I asked them and I said, look, I know you're all hanging out looking dodgy, but have you seen, I know you're nowhere near Wales either, but do any of you know about the theft of a 3-year-old plum tree in Wales? Now, they all pretended, acted a bit shifty, but I'm really sad to say, Hells, not one of them seem to have had it. And I hope that Gemma, who's also in Wales, is on that. I hope she's on it, because Gemma lives in Wales. She's very Welsh, and she knows pretty much everyone in Wales. And every time she hears of a misdemeanour in Wales, she takes it as a personal slight. So hopefully Helen, I think you saw Gemma's face the other day when we discussed that. She was like, I'll find it. So if nothing else has happened, Gemma is now fighting plum tree crime in your local area for you. Claire, who dresses up with her husband a lot, even when the children aren't involved, sent me a video. It's the best video. Her child had to do a school project where he had to report as if he was at the Nightingale Centre in London. And Claire, I've watched this video of this in their garden more than anybody's watched these. It's so brilliant, it's so funny. Anyway, the biggest issue, it's not an issue. The thing I love about it is that actually Claire, she even confessed to me, she did auto cue for it. She made her husband dress up like a workman, and on cue he walked across as a workman from the Nightingale Centre report from their back garden, and then Claire walked across very urgently as a doctor with a mask on. What fascinated me about the entire project was A, it was done in their garden, and B, her son had a moustache on which matched his hair. And I said to Claire today, who has a cupboard of moustaches? And she said, I do. They have like a emergency dressing up cupboard. My family would like food, but I can't give them that. I can give them these random bits of video. But Claire not only has food in her house, she has a moustache cupboard. She has props and everything. So Claire, again, I love your excellence in that, and again, it's just made me feel absolutely even more inadequate as a mother. Today, this morning, we had a Zoom call with we had Darren and his parents, Wendy and Wayne, and they're very Australian and very lovely, but they were talking about some plants they liked, and they said this. They said lilac. Right, it's lilac. It's lilac, Darren. It's lilac, Wendy. It's lilac, Wayne. Right, lilac. We're going to have to start doing those teaching English as a foreign language things down there. Also, they said clematis. No, it's clematis, not clematis. And I know that there's a lovely man called. There are two Steves that are listening down there now. Steve, both sound engineers, and hilarious. And what I'm not going to get into is if you do persist in listening. What I'm not going to do is enter the ongoing battle of, is a Tim Tam better than a penguin? No, I'm going to knock that right on the head now. They're not. They're sort of cheap. They're cheaper. The cheaper chocolate, Tim Tams, and I know you get very, very excited about this. No, Tim Tams, no. And that velvet thing, what is that called? A violet something or other. Looks like it's come from Willy Wonka's factory. Anyway, that gets all the Australians I know. Those products can come into an office and they can get the Australian contingent of people we work with as excited and as animated as talking about those birds they hate and all those helmets they have to wear to keep magpies away. All I can say about the magpies is we don't have that issue over here with magpies attacking us. We don't have like children being attacked on the streets by magpies attacking. Like in Australia, and again, some people might think I'm absolutely lying. I'm not. The kids have to wear on the way to school. They wear helmets because magpies attack them. So the only thing I can say is the Australians are doing something wrong with their wildlife birds. Because I think over here we'd have to have some sort of, well, they'd cull them, but we haven't antagonised the magpies like you lot have, or they're eating much bigger spiders. So I've sorted out the issues of the language. Clematis, no. Clematis. Lilac, no. Lilac. And Tim Tams, absolutely, they're pants. And I'm not going to quibble about that, although I do rather like the word quibble. So maybe that'll get into common language use. Let me just see. On one of the comments on the pages, Steve was shouting, "I can see an edge piece," which I think is very pleasing. Hang on. I'm doing this a bit later in the day because I've just left. Max has come in from his workshop, tinkering around in there, and we've ordered a little cheeky curry for tonight. Because I can't make any more things out of white fish from the freezer. I can't look at white fish again in the face. So we have gone a bit crazy, and I sold something on eBay, and I've managed to order a curry for tonight. But I spoke to Pete earlier, and he said that he quite liked Matt's idea of doing some jigsaw and then speeding it up. But no. And also, that means I'd have to spend an inordinate amount of time on my own at the bottom of the garden doing a jigsaw on my own, where most of the point of this is that this is great comedy gold and very pleasing. Somebody just wants me to do that. Somebody said, "Oh, I find that very pleasing." Yeah. But I think that was my first couple of days of trying this, and I was just basically essentially churning. Going to say hello to KP, who's in New York listening to this. He works for NBC, so surely he's got more important things to do than listen to this old drivel. But clearly not, KP. KP, look, even saying your name, it's brought me a piece of edge. Look at that. Okay. I wonder if you're listening today. Again, that's my Mexican. That's my Mexican sorted. Here we go. I spoke to my mum today. She didn't have lettuce in her sandwich. So, big times. I think she's having fish fingers for tea. Just had a chat about that. Fish fingers for tea. I think the quarantining is pretty hard on your own because you start to think that that's okay to ring up about. So I'm going to tell you a couple of little cheeky stories because I have been asked again to do stories where I basically prove that I shouldn't be out probably of this shed working. So when I was much younger, which was a long time ago, I was working up in Scotland for Scottish Opera, and I was seeing, at that time, the lighting guy, and in this scene, the show's called Cunning Little Vixen. It's a great opera, but the scenery was hilarious. It was this huge hill, and all of the characters, all of the singers are dressed as farm animals, basically, and the story's about a cunning little vixen. Anyway, so I knew that this lighting guy had to take a lamp out of this piece of scenery because the scenery was going to move, and he had to unplug a light. So I didn't necessarily have anything to do at that point. Well, I probably did, but I'd forgotten about it. And as a surprise, I turned up under stage where he had to unplug this light, right? Anyway, I started snogging the face off him, and he'd unplugged the lamp, and I started snogging his lamp, and we were just laughing. I was there, and suddenly the scenery started moving and splitting. So this huge hill splits into two pieces, right? One goes to one side of the stage, and the other bit goes to the other. However, so did my legs, because I was on the middle of the piece of scenery, not really realising. There was a load of clunking, the noise of the scene, the music was going, and everything was really loud, and I didn't know which to go, so I was actually doing the splits. The scenery moved really fast, and I was caught in the middle. Anyway, I looked up as I was basically breaking my pelvis, and all these women dressed as chickens, all the chorus that I knew, who were dressed as enormous chickens, were coming towards me, clucking. And I had to make a decision, and I had to go. Basically, I just jumped off this truck, probably internally bleeding, and I had to run upstage. I was chased off stage by chickens, enormous chickens, and that'll serve me right. So that was one story where I massively unprofessional. Another one was when actually I was in my first job at the Citizens Theatre, which is it's brilliant. It was a brilliant, I'm sure it is until now, but it's a brilliant theatre. It was my first job out of college. Again, how I got that, I don't know, because I flooded my college, but that's another story. And so I was chatting away in the office. I know that probably seems unusual to think about, but I was chatting in the office, and sorry for those people who've heard this story, but I was chatting, and the director is an incredible director called Philip Prowse, and he was very trendy and everything was black, and he only had 4 suits, and they were all black apart from one shirt, I think. And anyway, he was very cool, and the whole look of it was the whole scene change could only go from stage right to stage left, and that was the whole rule. And I knew I was an assistant stage manager, it was my first job, and I was very scared of getting in trouble, which I'm not so bothered now, but I was then. So it was stage right to stage left, yeah. So me and my mate were chatting in the office, and we suddenly heard the call for the scene change, and we were like, oh my God. We also, which I should tell you, had to be dressed as monks. And we had our monks' habits hanging up. So I grabbed a monk's habit, and he grabbed a monk's habit, and we were like, Christ, we better go, quick. Anyway, got to the side of the stage, started walking across, and it became completely apparent to me very quickly that I had the wrong monk's habit on. My mate, he was about 6'7", it felt like. The one he had on was mine, and I'm the height of like Jimmy Cranky. And so his one came up to his knees, and my one went over, literally spread out onto the floor. So all I knew was I wasn't allowed to move backwards. So all I had to do as well was push a throne off. So I was walking towards the throne with my beady on it, but at the same time, I was walking up the front of this monk's habit, right? So all I know, we've got 30 seconds. I was concentrating on this throne. Anyway, because I was walking up the front, I was getting closer and closer to the floor. Because I was walking up the front of the dress. I mean, I can't even show you how to do it, but I was walking up the front of the dress and it was getting shorter and shorter and shorter until basically my knees were on my chin. And I'm essentially lying now on the floor. And my mates had all gone off. They'd all gone off, so they were stage left. And looking at me going, why is that throne still on stage? Anyway, someone ran on and just took the throne off. And they found me lying on the floor because I couldn't move because I was so flat. And they had to just grab my arms and drag me off, and I had all carpet burns. Because it was black sort of architect's carpet. I can't believe I've ever worked. I can't believe that anybody's ever taken me. I'm such a buffoon. And another one for Scottish Opera was in Falstaff. So Falstaff, another great opera, and the director was a hilarious but very scary director. I won't say his name. I will do eventually. And anyway, so all I knew again was that it was my first job as Scottish Opera at that point. I thought I better behave myself, la la. Anyway, Falstaff has to jump out of a window at one point in the scene, and he goes into the Thames in the script. And so basically, I'm in the wings. I was representing the Thames. My job was to represent the Thames in the wings, and I had 2 cups of water to represent the Thames. So on a cue, Gordon, the singer, jumps out of the window, right? And before that, though, my friend and colleague Tom walks past and says, "Ju, don't throw the cups on stage, will you?" Like as a joke. And that hadn't occurred to me before. It literally, I mean, these cups became like burning embers in my hand. So Gordon jumped out the window and I just threw the cups on stage with the water. And it was first night. And so the last thing the audience sees before the interval is these 2 cups, plastic cups, white, bouncing down the stage at an angle and rolling into the orchestra pit. And then the curtain comes in behind them. Can you imagine? I just sat down in the wings waiting for this poisonous little terrifying director to, he just absolutely bawled me out. And I just looked at Tom. Tom, obviously it's not his fault because he had no idea was actually going to throw cups on stage. But it turns out that I did. And that's always haunted me. Yeah. Look, I'm not doing bad. I'm not doing bad here. Another one, when I might finish with this one, because you might be sick of showbiz, well, they're not even showbiz, are they? Stories. Because my real showbiz stories, I've signed loads of NDAs, and so I can't tell you because I'll be sued. And I won't be able to do a JigJaw anymore. One was when I decided to get fit at the Citizens Theatre. So again, first job, Citizens Theatre. And I thought, I'm not going to eat lots of rubbish. I'm going to buy dried fruit, and I'm going to eat dried fruit. Don't know why I chose dried fruit. I bought about £2 of it because in Glasgow I was living in this fantastic neighbourhood, which was very, it was Indian and Pakistani, so all the food was amazing, right? So I went to this, on the way to the tube, I bought loads of dried fruit, loads. And then so I proceeded to just nibble on prunes and apricots and peaches and all that, everything dried I could get my hands on. And I ate them all day. God, I still to this day don't know why I decided this. Anyway, so I munched on them all day. And then I drank loads of water. Again, another one of my drives was I was going to drink lots of water and feel fully cleansed. Anyway, during the show in the evening, I was sitting in the side of the wings waiting to do a cue. And, oh my God, my stomach went... I looked like I was about, 58 weeks pregnant. It just blew up. And of course, what I'd done was I'd eaten all this cocking dried fruit. And then I drank loads of water and it all swollen up. Because I was basically, yeah... Well, I was fleshing out the fruit, wasn't I? So I couldn't do my cue. I sat in the wing, and again my poor mate came out and said, "What's going on?" I said, "I can't move. Anyway, 2 guys had to carry me off the stage and into a taxi, and I didn't come back for about 3 days because I had to sit on the toilet for 3 days because of trying to get healthy. So hopefully that's the lesson to everybody. I wouldn't bother. I tried to do running. it's exhausting, and yeah, I'm not very good at that, and I'm not very good at eating healthily. What I'm very good at is baking and eating it, and that seems to work. It doesn't seem to have side effects, apart from you just have to wear a few more A-line dresses. That's all right, ain't it? Right, I'm going to love you and leave. Oh, I'm going to look at that. As I said, I'm going to love you and leave you. I think very soon, in the next, I don't know, year, I might start being able to do the edges. And I hope you're all going to be part of that. But basically, this is a big shout out to all of our lovely friends. And if you don't know me, I'm astounded you're watching this. But if you don't know me, I'm sorry for my randomness. I don't have any conditions. I chat for my job, and I don't have my job at the moment, so I'm just chatting here. Anyway, lots of love to you, and stand by for episode 5 to finish. And episode 5 finish, go.